It sets the land in 7 seasons, centuries have passed, until the day a hero named Mirren the famous task. Dark enemy, we love to play video games. We don't keep playing until the early morning. Dark enemy, we explain Monty games. Dark enemy, we sell my games and more. As Mirren set off on his quest to who he hit a coup, the navigator joined the ranks and so did Mr. Q. Sailing for adventure, stories and for treasure. We will help you through, so climb aboard and join the crew. Deep dark enemy, we love to play video games. We'll keep playing until the early morning. Deep dark enemy, we explain Monty games. Deep dark enemy, we sell the games and more.
YouTube too.
Ahoy divers and welcome back to Deep Dive Gaming. We return for another stream of consciousness with Hiro. Oh, let me make sure they can
Hello.
hear you. Okay, now you can say hello.
Hello.
We are resuming and approaching the end of the Final Fantasy. We are on Final Fantasy 15.
That's right. Final
And
Fantasy
I need
15.
to mute that. Here, let me do this. So, whoops, I think I've got doubling over. There we go.
Uh-oh.
I had the desktop audio on and also the Discord on, so they were hearing you times 2. So this is Hiro's show or episode because I know nothing about Final Fantasy 15. I'll bring up the wiki in a moment. But Hiro's actually played it, haven't ya?
Oh yeah, I played it. It was not well received. I'm gonna be honest. I never knew that it was not well received.
Apparently he received it well.
Yeah. I did not know it was not well received until well after I had played it years later. Well, I'd played it, and I honestly, to tell the truth, I actually, within the last couple of years, finished it, even though it's been out for a long time. It was one of those games that I started playing and then put down for a while and then remembered later on.
Oh, before you dig in too far, I gotta go, ahoy Twitch, ahoy YouTube, ahoy Rumble, ahoy Mojo, and ahoy Amanda Kitty who's on her mat. So there's that. And as you can see, we are streaming Final Fantasy 15 gameplay where we have awesome graphics. They're almost looking human.
The graphics are beautiful, the environment is beautiful, and the story was so very engaging to me. Unfortunately, Tyrundeth is not able to attend with us. He gave the he gave the I don't want to get spoiled bit, which fair, but he also has some matters to attend to, and that's all that I will say on that. This story, hilariously, this story is about the epic adventure of the bachelor party. That is the best way to explain it, in my opinion. This is the video game stories explained badly show. So what you saw in the introduction was a cut to the future, far, far future, and then the story cuts and rolls back several years. The main character is Noctis, this rather effeminate looking dude, which if you ask Chieftain, that's every character in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, they all
That
seem to have the spiky hair.
yeah, that by the way is the king of this story. So the story starts off. Um, you see Noctis, Prompto, Ignis, and I can't remember the other guy's name. They are all together in a dark area and fighting for their lives. And you see fire and all kinds of, battle going on. And then, boom, you flash back to present time. This story right now is basically Noctis, who's the prince. His name is Noctis Lucius Calum. He is the prince, and he's going to get married to a character named Lunafreya Nox Fleuret. She is the princess of another nation. So you've got, like, I think it's like 4 different kingdoms, quote unquote, or provinces, each one with their own leadership that works in a different way. And Lunafreya is the princess of a uh, somewhat oceanic province. And in this cutscene, you're journeying out to the you're journeying out to this province, to the province that Lunafreya is in charge of, to meet her for the wedding planning or something. Basically, he's going to meet his bride, and they famously break down on the road there, which is what you're seeing right now. And the story is you get the ring, the prince's ring, which is the regalia, and the game starts off. You go on an adventure. You're trying to get to the port, and you're gonna go from the port out to the sea, and that's where the story proper kind of sort of picks up. This game is very open world, and the story is relatively short in comparison to other Final Fantasy games. However, the fact that it is open world to the extent that it is lends to all of the exploration and all kinds of crap going on. But you can you can run around in this starting area, and you can gain like 15 levels without actually touching the main story to advance it. And
Sounds like Fallout 4.
I did that. It wasn't intentional because I was just exploring, and it was like, ooh, shiny. Oh, look, more stuff. Oh, look, more stuff. Oh, I could go and do some freeform hunting or something like that, because you can do bounties and stuff. And for the entirety of the first week that I played this game, I did not know that in order to level up proper, you need to go and rest. So basically, my characters went through something like almost a month's worth of day-night cycles before I even registered that I hadn't leveled up. And then I made it to the port finally, and I'd had enough money built up that I could take the expensive room, which gives you a rest bonus for your experience. And I did that, and it was like my characters went from to, wow, I am really smart now.
Times 11.
Yeah, it was literally like that. By the way, meet Sid, or at least Sid's daughter.
So does that mean her name is pronounced Shindy?
No. She is Cindy. She is the mechanic. Sid's the old dude sitting in the chair in front of the building.
Right, but in some games I think he's pronounced Shid.
That could be.
So
There's Sid.
there's always a
Didn't your
Sid,
dad
and he's
tell
always
you?
an old guy.
Oh yeah.
I think this is
And
the oldest old Sid has ever been, though.
that could be too. He's a freaking weaponsmith. He will upgrade the hell out of your weapons, but it requires a whole bunch of nice, cool gadgets and collectibles. And she will upgrade the car for you. So, oh, hey, Mojo said something. I discovered that in Oblivion 4 as well. You have to sleep before you level up takes.
Oh,
Yeah, I I did like a freaking 20 level turnaround on accident.
oh,
Oh yeah, it was wild. I was over leveled before I made it to the first story point. Or was it the first or the second? I don't remember which.
well,
But
overleveled
what
is better than underleveled.
absolutely.
Learned that the hard
So,
way in Fallout 4 too.
hell yeah. So you go through all of this stuff and you get to Luna Freya's city eventually, and that's when stuff goes south. Like stuff goes sideways. I'm trying to not say the words that I want to say.
Yeah.
It goes sideways. I can't go too far into the story detail there, but basically a war starts because of what happens there. And that's when you actually get your the goal of this story. It turns into like by the way, Noctis is the third guy here. Prompto is the second guy, Ignis is the first guy, and I can't remember the name of the first guy for the life of me.
Steve.
Ignis is the last.
We'll just call him Steve.
We're gonna, I actually am gonna scroll down to characters.
Yeah, let's actually
Uh,
read from some of the fandom before we get too carried
Gladius
away.
is his name. Makes sense.
Gladius.
The
Yes, the names in this are ridiculous. Noctis Lucis Calum, Ignis Scientia or Scientia, Gladiolus Amicitia or Amicitia or Amicia, however you want to say it. Prompto Argentum, Corleonis, Iris Amicitia, Arne Highwind. Those are some fun names to try and pronounce off the cuff.
So the important thing before we jump into reading this article to note is there's multiple components to this story that's not immediately obvious if you just buy the base game. And this is one of those games that I actually went out of my way to pick up the DLCs because there was stuff that I realized that had happened. The game itself stands alone, but there were four. There were four that came out with it after the fact. One for each of Noctis's companions, because there's a point where in the story where everybody gets separated, and the story follows his three companions in each DLC. And then the fourth one is called Episode Arden, and that actually follows the big bad. There's a component to the story that follows the big bad. So that's 4 DLCs that came out. I never got to play Arden. There was supposed to be 2 others to go along with that, but I'll get to that. This story also begins before the game starts. There's 2 additional components. There is a is it 2 additional? Yes, there is actually an anime that's the prequel to the game, that follows one of the king's guards that is not one of Noctis's 3 companions, and that king's guard is actually, he was charged with taking the heirloom signet ring to the king to deliver it to the king, I think it was.
To the king.
And the heirloom basically can only be worn by somebody of royal blood. And the reason is because that heirloom actually I love warp strikes. That heirloom actually is imbued and embodied with the spirits of all of the previous kings. Whoever puts it on will be bestowed with their power, their royal powers, which is you see Noctis in this cut here. He was warping around all over the place. He has magical ability to basically warp step to wherever his blade is thrown to. And it's really freaking strong. And when the ring is fully powered up, it allows Noctis to wield spectral weapons of previous kings. And it's literally weapons of all types, from swords to daggers to battle axes. And I think there might even be a bow in there somewhere. But in that, that's all tied to this ring that gets that this Kingsguard delivers to his king. And the anime actually follows him and follows it follows a series of moments where they were trying to stop him from getting that ring to his king. And you find out why at the end of Final Fantasy 15 itself. But the movie, the anime actually ends with him what do you mean not here, Kaori? But the anime actually ends with the Kingsguard delivering the ring to, actually it was Luna Freya that he was delivering it to. And the guy at the end, the guard, actually dies because the ring saps all of his power. But what happens to his spirit is decided on by the royal spirits inhabiting the ring. And all of the kings in there were basically like, he's not of royal blood, we should exile him immediately. And a couple of them, like a handful of them, actually convinced the rest of the spirits, like, but he acted like royalty and with honor, because he actually had to put on the ring to use its power to keep the ring from falling into the wrong hands. And they decided, okay, he died with honor, he deserves a seat amongst us because he acted as a king would. So that was really cool. And then there was another anime that followed Noctis and his three buddies, his three best friends, and his royal guard. They're all royal guard knights, but they're just very unconventional. So like you can see that by what they're wearing too. But there's another story that follows them, and it's like I said, that anime plus this game turns into the most epic it turns into the most epic bachelor party. And then like it's the three bros running around doing whatever the hell they want before they, get to the chores that they've been given, kind of thing. That being said, we'll get into, where do we want to pick up in the article that we have here?
Probably should work on, let's see. Let's start at the very beginning. I'll read a little bit here. Final Fantasy 15 is the 15th, no kidding, main installment of the main Final Fantasy series. Game is released worldwide on November 29, 2016. Wow, it was released in the future and somehow made it into the past. Funny that.
Yeah, right.
November 29th, 2016 for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and later March 6, 2018 on PC as the Windows Edition. It was directed by Hajime Tabata, but began development under Tetsuya Nomura as Final Fantasy Versus 13, who provided character designs for the main cast and concepts for the would-be main title, with the soundtrack composed by Yoko Shimomura. Final Fantasy XV is the first action role-playing game in the main series and the first single-player Final Fantasy game to be released with a games as a service model, receiving numerous free updates as well as paid DLC and seasonal events. The story is told over the course of 15 chapters. It focuses on Noctis Lucis Calum, a prince from the kingdom of Lucis, who fights to reclaim his throne and must go on to fulfill a greater destiny. Final Fantasy XV aims to examine its characters' humanity and place them in a more realistic setting than most Final Fantasy games. Its prominent themes are friendship, destiny, and legacy. The gameplay features an open world environment. It makes you and makes use of the ActiveX battle system, a real-time battle system. The first half of Final Fantasy XV is open world, traversable with the regalia and chocobos, and enables players to take on a variety of quests, explore, and play minigames. Objectives later become more specific in accordance with other Final Fantasy titles. In the original release, only Noctis was playable, though patches have allowed players to switch between controlling any of the 4 main characters in battle in the open world. Final Fantasy XV was originally developed as Final Fantasy Versus 13 as part of the Fabula Nova Crystallis project, but the extent to which it involved lore from Final Fantasy XIII and Final Fantasy Type 0 has been reduced after its rebranding. It now features its own lore as part of the Final Fantasy XV Universe sub-franchise. It takes place parallel to the feature film Kingsglaive Final Fantasy XV and has a prequel anime series, Brotherhood Final Fantasy XV. Hiro talked about that. The game
Talked
is
about both of them.
Oh, I missed the feature film. Okay, the game is also connected to A King's Tale Final Fantasy XV, Justice Monsters 5, and King's Knight Wrath of the Dark Dragon. Final Fantasy XV Pocket Edition, a new version of the game for mobile platforms, was announced at Gamescom 2017 and was released on February 9, 2018 for iOS, Android, and Windows 10. A PC version was announced at Gamescom 2017 and was released on March 6, 2018. I think we've covered this. Royal Edition released on the same day for consoles that include the additions to the PC version. To date, Final Fantasy XV is the first and only title in the main series to receive contemporary releases on every major platform of its era, as opposed to previous entries that have been remastered or otherwise adapted to new media since their original release.
So I guess the clarification there, Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15 I called it an anime. It's animated just to the same level that this game is animated. Like the world that Kingsglaive shows it looks just like this, aesthetically beautiful, if you will. And then the anime Brotherhood Final Fantasy 15, that's kind of what I was talking about. Kingsglaive is about the royal guard that's delivering the signet ring, the heirloom signet ring to Lunafreya, and then Brotherhood follows Noctis and his 3 compadres here to before the events of the game, and it leads to him showing up to talk to his dad, which is what the beginning, where the game begins, is where he's talking to his father, who's the king. So I will go ahead and pick up with, okay, you got your little introduction there, or we got the introduction there. Do you want me to pick up with gameplay or something else?
I think you've got me intrigued as to why this game was not well received.
I don't know why, to tell you the truth.
Because, there's a reception. I think there's a reception.
There we go. I can jump down to that if you.
Yeah, go ahead and
Well,
jump down to that because definitely curious about what made this game not be as well received as its predecessors.
so I'm before I read this, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to
Unless
give
there's
my
a,
prediction.
unless it's
I'm
like
gonna.
there's something about gameplay that will give us a clue as to why it wasn't well received.
I think it ties to gameplay, but let me go ahead and give my prediction. My prediction is that the reception was not as good as what we would have wanted or what we would have expected because this is one of the first Final Fantasy games that's actually full on real time battle system as opposed to all of the others which was simulated real time. So and I think that it went from the ATB systems it wasn't really real time, but it was more action based. It was turn based, but more action based than turn based. And to this game was full on real time battle. Like
Yeah,
yes,
I also keyed to the thing that you said about it not having as long of a storyline, or um, I think I heard that right. I might have misunderstood, but you said something
and
about the story
again,
being
yeah,
not taking that long to complete.
yeah. This if you just go from point A to point B, your story is going to be hella short, and you can be underleveled as f by the time you get to the end game. That being said, and I'm not going to read too much of what Mojo said too late because she's trying to spoil us here. She, she's spoiling the tension here. But on top of that, it was also the very first true open world. Um, it was the very first truly open world of the Final Fantasies, I believe, personally. Um, Aside from Final Fantasy 14, but that's an MMO and that's slightly different. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into this critical reception to see what they assess it to be. So Final Fantasy 15 received generally positive reviews, though its scores were lower than usual for the main series entries. The game was praised for the portrayal of the friendship between the main characters, to its storytelling, and to the second half of the story that felt flawed. And there it is. Did the story was way shorter than any other. Plus, it definitely. I guess I could see that. The second half of the story did feel very flawed. It had less build up. A lot of the tension in the story. They did. I'll just leave it with storytelling issues. A key point of praise was the relationship between the four main characters. Polygon, who shut down recently, is most well. They said it was most well drawn, fully developed characters in Final Fantasy history. While Game Informer credited the smart and often funny dialogue, which I found that to be very, very true. They were witty as hell. They was like you go into battle and it's like listening to the Peanut Gallery. Let me tell you.
Chieftain
um,
plays video games with sort of heckling.
pretty much. And plus, as with any full-blown adventure game that you have a world to save, and the main character just wants to go fishing. Noctis is addicted to fishing. You could spend hours fishing in this game. Or like you notice that, right? Every adventure game, the main character wants to go fishing.
I'll have to take your word for that.
Seems like almost every RPG, every Zelda game, every Well, Stellar Blade has it. Final Fantasy has it. Then, uh,
Mojo says if the minigame is good, I will fish till the end, till the world dies.
let's see. Let's see. IGN also praised how the game turns every aspect of the travel through its open world into an opportunity to showcase their personalities. That's so true. You go on a drive and the characters will have a side conversation. GameSpot found it disappointing to see them relegated to cliched, unbending roles, given that a group of supporting characters in the Final Fantasy games typically has diverse backgrounds and curious personalities. Leave it to GameSpot to screw it up. Many critics praised the open world and gameplay. IGN posited that the game is constantly and thoroughly beautiful and never compromises in scale or detail, while Polygon felt that the world of Lucius is so interesting, so detailed, and begging to be explored that excuses to travel were welcome. I mean, I think that's what got me. It was like I caught myself running amok. And generally, you don't want to be outside at night when you're low level. After my initial brush with level ups, I'll just say that I got to a point to where traveling at night wasn't a big deal. Because when you travel at night in this game, demons will just start spawning out of nowhere, and they're not just like regular, on the ground demons, No, these things are freaking giants, the size of Monster World hunter demons and dragons. And they were terrifying when I first encountered them. Like running for my life every time I saw one. But then after my initial level up, yes, Elden Ring demons. After my initial level up to like level 20-ish, I discovered that they are meant to be killed eventually. Anyways, GameSpot claimed that the combat system made for a satisfying juggling act once you understand the game's demanding pace and the extent of your abilities. Very true. While IGN felt that the mechanics of battle were sadly quite thin. To a degree, that is true. Because you are... It's kind of a button masher to a degree. You have your action button where you attack with your melee weapon or whatever weapon you have equipped. Then you have your special.
Ahoy, Gazoo!
What up, Gazoo? Then you have your special attack, which is for Noctis. It's the warp strike, where he throws his weapon at the enemy and then warps to them, and then you can turn it into this lengthy combo by mashing the attack button, and then you can turn it into a bonus combo by using a magic spell. Noctis is the only one that can use magic, by the way, but you have to craft the elements. So you have to craft the spells.
Well, you have to craft the material component.
Well, what you do is there's mineral deposits throughout the world that you can find randomly, and each mineral deposit represents a different magical element that Noctis has the ability to draw. So he draws the magic from the earth for the fire element, for the wind element, for the frost element or ice element, I think it was, or was it water? I can't remember which. But every element he draws the magic from the world, or from these mineral deposits, and then you go into your spellcrafter and you put different ones together into this spellcrafting table, different amounts, and it'll change the spell to something else based on the amounts that you put into it.
Full Metal Alchemy?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Meanwhile, I've got a cat trying to get
Meow.
at my plate.
Meow
It had
cat.
tuna, so of course he wants it. But yeah. Meanwhile, Gazoo and Mojo are over here talking about the Great White North. Anyways, so I can understand why they said that the combat was kind of thin, because every character had each character had a different weapon set or a different combat set, and then but Noctis was probably the most unique, and as at its base it was also very simplified. Meanwhile, Gladio had he, just as his name implies, he carries this big sword, and he's basically your tank. Ignis is Ignis wields daggers, and I think he gets spells too, which is weird because they said specifically that Royal Blood were the only ones that could actually. Oh, it was spell crafting. Never mind. And then Prompto, he wields dual guns. So actually, a series of guns. He had dual pistols, an assault rifle, and another gun. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a rocket launcher, now that I think about it.
Say hello to my little friend.
Oh yeah. Anyways, the development team is aware of the feedback of the game feeling unfinished, and this has been said to be the biggest issue for them, though there was not enough time to include everything the developers had wanted to. And though they would have preferred to put these things into the main story, the team plans to keep including parts that have been left out via updates and DLCs. Because it takes time and money, the team will prioritize the things with strong demand. Okay, this is obviously an article that was written a while ago, because they have since finished with those DLCs. Director Hajime Tabata has lamented that the main game has certain aspects that lack explanation. He denied the scattered nature of the final story had to do with salvaging the Final Fantasy Versus 13 project, and instead simply said that creating a grand adventure on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One is a hard task to accomplish, and that the team may have lacked the strength or abilities and skills to perfectly complete the game. He stressed that he and his team don't consider the end result a low achievement and are proud of the game regardless. One of the goals through downloadable content, which will continue for an indeterminate time to come, is to patch plot holes and give players better understanding of the game's story. And they addressed a lot of that, but the game, I think, as Mojo hit on, was that the story felt rushed, there was cut content and unclear communication, and delayed DLC. Well, the story bits that we did not get, let me scroll up. Story content that we did not get was more story with strictly just Noctis. Hold on, I'm trying to find it because I had to look it up. Oh, there was the Noctis DLC and the Luna Freya DLC were cut. Yeah, here we go. Nope, that's not what I was looking for. So I apologize. Not well prepared, apparently.
One does not organize the stream of consciousness. One follows it where it leads.
Indeed, indeed.
Mojo says they figured out what the unclear communication was, It was essentially some people felt the story wasn't always clear on why the characters were doing what they were doing.
Oh, that was simple. But if I told you that part, that would spoil a major plot point in the story. Here we go. You know what? I'm just gonna scroll to the DLCs. Boom, downloadable content. If you got the season pass, you could get the holiday pack, the booster pack, episode Gladiolus, episode Prompto, episode Ignis, and the multiplayer Comrades, which I never played the multiplayer. I didn't know that was a thing. The full game also included episode, I think it was Ardyn was his name. Let me scroll. Okay. Patches. Updated with various patches released, adding new weapons, DLC, and story scenes, as well as various quality of life improvements and bug fixes. The Royal Pack. Anyways. Because I've been writing songs in Latin. Thank you. Ultimately, what the lack of clarity boiled down to is your main point at the start of the game is to go meet with Lunafreya, the princess, Noctis's betrothed. And that's like the first half of the game. The second half of the game is the aftermath of meeting her in person and when things went sideways. That meeting made him angry. He also realized that another plot point happened, and now he needs to go and basically unlock his full birthright, which meant that he had to take the Ring of the Lushi, and which is the name of the heirloom ring that he's given by Lady Lunafreya, and basically power it up with all the spectral powers from the different royal tombs all over the world. I think there's 12 of
Did you
them.
say royal tombs or tunes?
Royal tombs, crypts, graves.
Because it would not be. I would not put it past Final Fantasy for them to be royal tunes that he needs to collect.
But
tunes as in melodies.
Yeah, no, I figured. But yeah, he needs to go and upgrade the Ring of the Lushi to its full potential.
Lushi,
and then,
I'm home.
And then
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, no, right? And then go and deliver a royal beatdown on the big bad.
Agnes Enflamer, as in we partnered with Disney and got Disney fields.
Disney, oh God. Please no more Disneyfication.
Let's see, what else we got here?
That I think I will now pass the reins to you for some chit-chatty.
So I'm looking at some of the other stuff that they have in here. There's the field. The world of Final Fantasy 15 is seamless and initially open. The player is free to drive or fly to regalia without hindrance. Noctis and friends can call chocobos to their side by blowing a whistle. And as of the day one patch, Noctis can warp outside of battle and use the car's music player while exploring. Haha, see? See, Royal Tunes, haha.
You can
Noctis,
purchase a bunch of different soundtracks in the game to play on the car radio.
Noctis can fish at designated locations, and he can find non-player characters, some of whom give him quests. Noctis's friends occasionally point things out to him in the conversation they have with him, often allow the player to discover optional material organically. Players can see their destination on the world map by looking for the blue exclamation or red exclamation. This aids in navigation, prevents one from getting lost. Items can be procured from the field and glow before they are picked up. Many of them can be exchanged for gil. During some cutscenes, players are given the option to choose how Noctis will respond. Mojo says, Royal Tunes, Snow White, Song, Cinderella, Aurora. I can totally see that being a thing. Final Fantasy features, 15 features a day and night cycle, which affects which enemies spawn and which fish are around fishing spots. Demons only spawn at night, and if the battle draws for too long, the sun comes up. Let me read that again. And if the battle draws for so long, the sun comes up, they will take damage from the sunlight. Initially, the regalia cannot be driven on autopilot during the night, but the option for it unlocks after level 30. Player can still fast travel with the car. What is regalia the vehicle?
Yes, the regalia is the car.
Okay. Player can still fast travel with the car. The Star Scourge gradually lengthens nights, and thus the party will wake up later in the later chapters, and the sun begins to go down earlier. Then there's camping sites, lodgings, and restaurants. There's mini games and side quests. There's a new game plus version, or a new game plus edition, in 1.03. Let's see what else we got. Oh, story. We got a blurb. Let's see. Where's it? Wait a second. Let me go up to the top. There's a bigger plot I wanted to read. Maybe it was down below.
Careful not to spoil yourself.
Well, there's a big, the thing where it's got quotes. I'm like, oh, I love the quotes because they allow me to read in my voice. There it is. Okay. In a matter of days, the kingdom of Lucis is to sign an armistice, ending a long and bitter conflict with the Niflheim. Ahead of the ceremony, Prince Noctis, heir to the Lucian throne, sets forth from his homeland to formalize the union of states through his marriage to the Lady Lunafreya of the imperial province of Tenebrae. The offer of peace, however, is no more than a ruse to lower the Lucian shield, and the imperial army takes the crown city and its sacred crystal in one fell swoop. En route to his destination, Noctis is shocked to learn that he, his father the king, and his betrothed are believed dead. Overnight, the dream of peace has faded into a distant memory. His world crumbling around him, Noctis has naught but his resolve and his loyal companions to see him through the trials to come. From the official synopses.
Yep. And that's as far as I'm willing to take the story if somebody wants to play that game and not be spoiled. That looks like an ARV in Schedule 1.
Call back to the days when cars were boats. Or
Right.
cars were the size of boats.
I know of a few boat cars still.
Let's see. We could go into some of the music. Soundtrack for Final Fantasy 15 is primarily composed by Yoko Shimomura, who is known for her contributions to the Kingdom Hearts series. Shimomura's pieces encompass themes of friendship and filial bonds. I need to blow my nose.
Oh. Anyways. Yeah.
All right, let's see. Anything interesting here. Main theme of Final Fantasy 15, Somnus, is performed by Andrea L. Hopkins. The piece's title refers to Hypnos, the Roman god of sleep, in accordance with the logo. Let's see. Okay. Do we want to go into some of the developments, or did we do that already?
I don't know, we have about 8 minutes left.
Oh, yeah, huh? Let's go into the
Yeah.
sequels then. At A3 2013, Tetsuya Nomura discussed the possibility of Final Fantasy 15 having sequels. In a later interview, Nomura was more cautious when asked about the subject. In an issue of Game Informer released on April 5th, 2015, that focused on Final Fantasy 15, Hajime Tabata stated there are no plans to create sequels to this game. March 2016, at Uncovered Final Fantasy 15, the Final Fantasy 15 Universe sub-franchise was revealed. Square Enix has stated its purpose is to expand the story and world of Final Fantasy 15 to other media, as well as to eliminate the necessity for sequels. Interesting. Let's see. Apparently there's a Royal Edition for PlayStation 4. Windows Edition. Looks like I could totally play this. The system requirements are here. Google Stadia, what's that? Nintendo Switch. Technical tests to see if the same native engine used on other console versions would work on Switch were unsatisfactory, and the team is looking at customizing the engine. Square Enix had talked to Epic Games about a possible partnership. No details of these talks have come forward, but Pocket Edition HD was announced September 6, 2018 and released to the Switch a week later. Interesting. Yeah, there's a 15 Pocket Edition. Let's see. We talked about reception, accolades, commercial performance, package. Oh. Yeah, we never talked about commercial performance. As of January 2018, the game has sold over 7 million copies and is considered a huge success. Half an hour after they were made available for pre-order, the 30,000 copies of Final Fantasy 15 Ultimate Collector's Edition were sold out. 10,000 more copies were produced and they went on sale. Immediately sold out. 2 days after the game's official release, Square Enix announced the game had topped 5 million in worldwide shipments and digital sales. Broke the record for the most first-day digital sales in Japan. Saw a new record for the total of release date shipment and downloads in Asian regions, excluding Japan. Game recouped its development costs in the first 24 hours of its release. Whoo! Debuted in Japan, almost 700,000 copies sold.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the article that I was reading and the common sentiment that I had heard was just plain wrong.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty much all we need to go into for Final Fantasy 15. So next week will be our finale for, as Hiro and I called it before the stream, Season 2.
Yes.
And then we'll either go back to a more freeform style of stream of consciousness for a couple weeks while we get Season 3 figured out, including what that topic is going to be. There have been a couple of suggestions by myself and Hiro. Go figure. And then we're also looking at doing some style upgrading to the actual stream format itself, as well as dual streaming to the Lagging Out entertainment channel. But so we might take a little bit of a break while we work out the finer points on that. But in the meantime, I will be back tomorrow here on Deep Dive Gaming at 5 o'clock Eastern Time to resume more Satisfactory gameplay with Satisfactory. I will be streaming it again on 7:30 Eastern Time on Lagging Out, on YouTube, Twitch, Cake and Rumble. And then tune in Friday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern Time for Lagging Out Live podcast featuring Hiro, Chieftain, and Soda Pop. I will not be on this week, sadly. And yeah, do you want to shamelessly plug anything?
Check us out on lagginout.com. We've got various articles that get published there. Feel free to comment on them. We would love to see some engagement on those articles. We post fan art that gets shared with us in the Discord server. The only requirement, if anybody does fan art, is if you please watermark your art. We don't want it getting stolen. And let's see what else. There's more stuff to come soon. I keep saying that, and I'm excited to see what Mariner comes up with.
Suddenly I'm on the spot. What? Anyways, yeah, more of that. We'll get into more of that as opportunities present themselves. So until next time, enjoy Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Fair winds and fun gaming, y'all. Bye-bye.
Fair fun gaming. Bye-bye.
Oops, that one.